Many freelance artists in today's world sell their services online in the form of commissions. When you commission someone, you're giving an order for or authorizing the production of a product such as a work of art. You're paying someone to make art for you. Now, when you leave the hobbyist world and enter into the business world by opening commissions like this, you have to make sure that you're protected against insane clients. I'm sure every artist has had a few in their career. To protect themselves, many artists will have a terms of service, which is a rather smart idea. Although I think most artists get a bit carried away when it comes to the legal aspect and terms and conditions and rules of their art, but that's another story for another day. In the artist's mind, terms of service is a legally binding contract that will protect against a number of crazy things that clients can do to screw you over. But what I'm worried about is that for commissions and adoptables and many other forms of digital art sold, terms of service may not be legally binding. Now, before we jump into it, I'm not a lawyer, as always. Nothing I say is legal advice. I looked around and I tried to find instances of lawyers talking about this specific thing, terms of service, when it comes to commissioned art or art that you sell on the internet. And I couldn't find any examples. So all of this is just going to be my opinion based on my interpretation of the law. As always, you should talk to a lawyer to learn more. And I think it'd be very interesting if you do talk to a lawyer, let me know what they say, because I'd be curious to hear from an actual legal expert's mind what they think about this. Also, it's raining and there is an incredibly loud drain pipe right outside my door. So if you hear that, apologies, but today is the only day I could film this video, so bear with me, please bear with me. I've also been sick, so bear with me with my voice, and if I look sick, don't worry about it, it's fine. Now, why might terms of service for art commissions not be legally binding? It's because terms of service only covers services, not products. So what's the difference between a service and a product? A product is an article or substance that is manufactured or refined for sale. It's an item that you buy, basically. It's a thing that you can buy. Think of shopping at a grocery store. Almost every item you can purchase in a grocery store is a product. You pay for the product, then you own the entire thing. On the other hand, a service is something like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, even AAA roadside assistance, cell phone service. It literally has service in the name. It's different from a product because it is constantly ongoing during the service period. You can't go to the store and just buy one cell phone service and own it forever. You have to keep paying monthly, and they can terminate the service at any time. It's ongoing. Similar to cell phone service, YouTube is also a service. Even though you don't pay for it, it's a service provided to you by Google. And that is why there is a terms of service. And once again, the service can be terminated at any time, whether that's accomplished by deleting your account or shutting down YouTube entirely if they end up going bankrupt or anything like that. It's not a product. You can't just order one YouTube from Amazon and own YouTube. Instead, it's an ongoing relationship between you and Google. So where does art commissions come into play? Well, commissioned art is a product, not a service. Once the art is finished, you own the art. You can do whatever you want with it. It's a finished product that you paid for. The artist is providing no ongoing service to you. So I don't believe it can be governed by a terms of service because it's a product. If you go to Walmart to purchase an apple, there is no terms of service that you have to agree to in order to purchase the apple. However, you can also buy a phone plan from Walmart, which does have a terms of service because, again, a phone plan is a continuous service rather than a product. What I've seen many times is that artists will include a line in their terms of service that if you resell art, or if it's an adoptable, if you resell the character, or if you try to change the design, that they can take back the character or art. Imagine if you went to Walmart and you bought an apple, but you had to agree to a terms of service that stated that you can't alter the appearance of the apple, or Walmart could take back the apple. That would be illegal because you own the apple. But what a lot of artists don't consider is that it's the exact same with art or adoptables, or anything you sell to someone that isn't a service. It's all products. You can't place conditions on it the same way you can with a service. Using Twitter as an example, if you break their terms of service, they can take back their service. They can ban you from Twitter. They can refuse to allow you to use their service any longer because services can be regulated this way, but products cannot. Now, that's not to say the entire process of a commission isn't a service. The time period during which you're working with the client to produce the art could be considered an ongoing service because you're working with the client to produce something with them. So you could probably have a terms of service for that time period. But the problem is that as soon as the art is complete and handed off to the client, the service period has now ended, and the client is left with a product and no ongoing service. A terms of service cannot extend past the service period. This may be confusing, so let me give you a real-world example of this. I had my brakes replaced at a mechanic, and I had to agree to a document that is very similar to a terms of service, because they'd be offering me the service of installing the new brakes and removing the old brakes. But once the new brakes were on my car, the terms of service no longer applied. The service period was over. I was left with just a product rather than a service, the product being the brakes on my car. The installation of my brakes was no longer ongoing because it had finished. Now technically there was still a service attached because the brakes were under warranty. Warranty is an ongoing service. Breaking the warranty's terms of service, though, only voids the warranty. It doesn't give the mechanic the legal right to come to my house, remove the brakes from my car, and take them back. The only way that you can retain any right to your work as an artist, other than copyright, of course. Typically, artists still have copyright even when they sell commissions, but even that doesn't always apply, but that's another topic for another day. Like if I commission someone to draw art of my persona or my character, I own the copyright to the character, so if they draw my character, I still own the copyright to that. But if they create a character for me, then they can own the copyright to it. It's complicated, that's another topic for another day. But the only way you can retain any right other than copyright to your art as an artist is by only selling a license for the client to use your art, rather than selling them the art outright. This means that you retain full ownership of the artwork, which honestly would be scummy and restrictive, but it would be the only way that you could legally have control over what someone does with the art they commission from you. Because a license is an ongoing service rather than a product. So you can have a terms of service for that, no problem. This is what happens when you buy a video game. When you buy a game, even if it's a physical version, you're only buying a license to use the software. You're not buying the software itself. This is typically how it is with most software, actually. Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, even Windows. You don't even own any of them. You just own a license to use them. This is how software companies are able to get away with governing your use of their software via a EULA, or End User License Agreement, which is basically a terms of service. Many artists are young and do not yet understand how the legal world works. You can't just put anything you want into a contract and have it be magically legally binding. You still have to follow laws. Like I said earlier, I've seen lots of artists selling adoptables with terms of service that says if the buyer breaks the terms of service by altering the character design or trying to resell the character that they rightfully own, and they do have the legal right to resell the character or change the design, that the artist is able to reclaim the character. That's completely illegal, and that's not at all how terms of service works. It's not legally binding whatsoever. You can't just write into a contract that you're able to steal back a character that you've already sold if the buyer does something with it that you don't like, because it's completely illegal. That's stealing. It's always best to consult with a lawyer before writing up any legal documentation, including terms of service, to make sure that you're within your legal right, within the law, and to make sure that the document itself is legally binding. So to sum it up, based on my own interpretation of the law, it seems like commissioned art is one of the only products that is governed by a terms of service, and I don't think that that's actually legally binding because it's not a service, it's a product. So I'd be curious to hear what a lawyer has to say about that. If I was a bigger YouTube channel, I would have hired a lawyer to talk in this video and give their opinion, but of course I'm not at that level just quite yet. So this is the best that I can do. But if anyone ever talks to a lawyer about this, please let me know what they say. I'm very curious. It makes sense to me. You can't govern a product with the terms of service. That'd be ridiculous. You can't just go into a grocery store and have to agree to a terms of service when you buy anything there. Like if I buy a broom and the terms of service says you're only able to sweep the floor with this broom. You can't do anything else with it. Like what if I want to take the broom handle and shove it inside of my, would they come to my house and reclaim the broom? No, it doesn't work like that. So I'd be curious to see what an actual lawyer has to say. I think a lot of artists are just a little bit, they kind of take the whole legal side of everything a little bit too seriously. They write up humongous documents, humongous terms of service, but they don't have a lawyer look over it. So there's a lot of things typically in these that are just not legal. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Hopefully I can get over the sickness soon. I'm almost better. I don't have a fever anymore. I'm leaving for MFF tomorrow morning. Who am I gonna see there? Put it in the comments if you're gonna be there. I feel really bad because I've been sick for like 4 days. I was supposed to have work on those 4 days. I was supposed to be working on videos to have ready in advance for when I'm gonna be gone at MFF. It's only 4 days long, but you know, I was planning to be able to upload while I was gone, but of course I got sick and I wasn't able to do that. So I get one video for while I'll be gone. So that's fine, it's fine. I apologize for that. But when I come back, hopefully we can get right back on track. If you enjoyed, check out my merch, Pkrussl.com. There's a link down below. You can find a whole bunch of lovely things on there, like sweatshirts, t-shirts, water bottles even. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. So go check it out. If you buy any merch, please send me a picture of yourself holding it or wearing it, depending on what type of merch it is, and I will include you in a video. The way to send it to me is on Twitter. Tag me at Pkrussl and use hashtag PKmerch. Gotta do both those things or I won't be able to find it. And don't forget to become a patron. All my patrons are so amazing. They're on your screen right now. Without their help, this would not be possible. Thank you so much, lovely patrons. Just $2 a month is all it costs. That's $24 a year. That's like a fancy meal. That's one fancy meal a year. Just give up one fancy meal a year and you can support me for an entire year, dude. Patreon.com/PKRUSSL, link down below. All right, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye!